Good morning, good evening, good night, dear listeners. And once again, I am here to hold you in the shopping cart of Sigma as we find out what is going on with UAOS hashtag. As always, I am Adam, and with me is the most pontiferous of all Discordians. It's Big Swingin' D.
Hello.
Should have called you the most mischievous after that little hello there. And also in the butterfly net this week is the always stoic and sometimes... No, can't think of another word that says stoic in another way. Brain went blank. It's 88M.
In the supermarket of your mind, I've been dragged out of the bargain bin. Hello.
In the supermarket of my mind, it's 1996 and it's W.H. Smith's.
Mate, they've still got this. Going to W.H. Smith's now, they've still got the same carpet.
They do have the same carpet,
True,
but not the same magazines. Saying that though, no, 1994 and it's Woolworths. There we go.
So I'm sure folks know, but there is, I think, still a Facebook group that's dedicated to the most threadbare and worn W.H. stores. And it's a joy to behold. You just go on there and it's just tired-looking W.H. Smiths. You know, carpet that disappeared 4 years ago. Shelves that are due for the bin, but they're still keeping use. That's brilliant stuff. And as for Woolworths, Woolworths is the thing that they really were for people who are too young to know what a Woolworths is. And no, we're going to go off on the right tangent here. But
it's all good.
The fact was, people go, oh yeah, but they weren't that good. They weren't that good, and it's like, well, consider the time
were.
you had ridiculously cheap oil prices, which is why the rise of plastic toys was so big. You had like legislation that allowed companies to advertise via cartoons, so that's why it was so popular. And you literally had shelves rammed full of all of the most incredible lines. And it wasn't the case of that, like, they could only put like two things of Star Wars up because there was too much He-Man. No, they'd get another aisle.
Yeah.
And it would be on that, and you would just have aisle after aisle. And now, if you went back as a time traveler and you went into one of those stores, you would be stunned by the sheer value of what was on those shelves.
I would weep. I would openly weep. I mean, there's a point in... This is why I picked 1994. There's a point where in Woolworths, in my local one back down in Workington, where you could go into the toy aisle, look at the Hero Quest and the Games Workshop games that were on the bottom shelf. So you had Mighty Warriors and all those little games. You had Hero Quest. You had like all the expansions for Hero Quest, including the Dungeon Designer kit. And then you turned around and there were the Alien action figures. And that is something that stays in my brain constantly because I'm a firm believer that nostalgia is a two-edged sword. You know, it is. It can be quite poisonous because you are remembering something that didn't exist as such. You're remembering how you perceived the reality at that time, not what was actually happening.
And as being a child, so not so I've heard this said before as well. Recently, even by a friend of mine, they go, "Oh, I wish I could go back to the late '90s, a simpler time, a time when everything." And I was like, you can go screw yourself. I was an adult living in London on nothing, trying to get into films. Trust me, if you're a kid at any time, it's a simpler time. Maybe not with the rise of social media because kids are now in the firing line. But back before social media, you didn't know about half the crap that was going on with parents, let alone the world. So of course it was simpler. But it's also as well, you would turn from those Alien toys and you'd probably like block out the fact that there were probably 3 stacks of shelves covered in Power of the Force Star Wars figures that they couldn't get rid of, that they were selling for 20p each.
Yep.
The overly muscular Power of the Force line. That was a weird time.
I bought the Han Solo from that line because he came with a really long coat. And I tried to resculpt his hair because I wanted a Deckard action figure. And to this day, I'm annoyed it never worked. Good times.
I mean, I still have two of the best exclusives Woolies, well, that the Transformers franchise ever had that came out of Woolies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the Skywarp and Fortress Max. Oh, no, Skywarp
Ultra
and Ultra
Magnus.
Magnus 2-pack for classics, and the repaint of Overload as Ultra Magnus for Energon.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which are all quite lovely.
Yeah.
And of course, when I was coming back from Hong Kong in the early 90s, I'd screw Toys R Us. I wanted to go to Woolies every time just because I could buy the latest classics release of Transformers in the gold boxes.
Yes. Oh man.
Because nowhere else ever had the damn things.
Yep. I buy the classics from Woolies and go online and buy the Henke stuff. That was 15 years ago.
I know. I mean, in like 89 to 92, the gold box comic tie-in classics re-releases of G1. The first
I'm with
G1
you.
years, yeah.
I'm with you now. I thought you meant the actual classics before.
Oh no, those I got from Asda actually.
No, it's just I was thinking about that the other day. Those wonderful times when it was cheap enough to like, yep, I've bought the classics version, and now I'm going to go online and try and find the Henke version.
Yeah. The good old days of Chug.
Yeah, good God. Yeah, and
I mean, to be fair, I still buy an awful lot from Japan because this week I had a package with Silverbolt, the new version from Beast Wars in Voyager, who is awesome. He's currently standing on Skylinx's back at the moment. And even better, have you guys seen the Toyota and Japanese Space Agency Lunar Cruiser Prime?
Yes, I've seen that.
I got one.
Ah, cool.
He. Hang on, I'll put a picture in the chat because he poses like a boss. It's just very weird. It's
one that
Japanese
has
exclusive.
Does he have a slight, almost TF anime?
Yeah, his proportions are a bit on the anime side.
Yeah.
Which I quite like, to be fair.
Hang
on. But it's a funny old figure because he's the only Optimus Prime I've ever bought direct from Japan that's actually called Prime.
Oh, usually Convoy, yeah.
Because the packaging calls him Lunar Cruiser Prime.
Now, I'm sure that Lunar Cruiser is something that Pluto Nash did, and that's why he got into trouble.
Hey, I worked on that film only in a small way, only on one or two effect scenes, but I worked on Pluto Nash.
Hang on, no, I've known multiple things that you've done over the years, but I did not know that you had some dealings with Pluto Nash, the greatest bad film ever made.
Yes.
I love Pluto Nash. I love it.
It was during the Tomb Raider stuff. We did just like one or two like bits. I mean, honestly, it was like half an hour, like at the end of the day, where they just wanted something picked up, or this, that, or the other. So yeah, it was just a thing. And they even said at the time, like the guy was talking about it, said, "Oh, it's this disaster of a movie that they're just trying to finish off so they can get it out of the way and pretend it never happened." And, I think I might have a sheet regarding it, like a call sheet. If I do, I will see if I can find it.
Awesome, man.
If I can as well, I'll see if I can get a Tomb Raider one as well.
I might have to add Pluto Nash to the watch-along list at some point.
It's so good, but it's also terrible.
Well, let's face it. At the moment, I think we've already got the Warcraft film based on discussion earlier. So,
that's already on the list. I have a list of 100 films that I keep adding to every month as we go through stuff. And then people I ask for random D100 rolls 2 a month just to pick what we watch.
It's such a good idea.
I know, right?
It's so good.
That's the next 20 years taken care of.
Yeah, but I add to stuff as well. Because it started off as a 20 film list, where I just shuffle things up as we went through the first 20.
Yep.
But then I decided, there's so many films on here. Let's go all the way up to 100.
Sorry, that Lunar Prime, he actually looks pretty intimidating. There's something about the head sculpt on a body like that. The head sculpt looks quite dark compared to everything else. Yeah, it looks good.
I quite like the darker red, the claret for the
Yeah.
prime bits as well. That's a nice touch they made for him.
Was he a pricey purchase?
I think he was 50 quid.
It's not too bad.
He's a decent Voyager size.
Yeah.
So not massive, but you can kind of like feel. It's like I've got the Reactivate Prime on my desk as my Prime to have a play around with, just because it's so fun to mess with. And the comparison between the two, this one's a lot heavier than Reactivate Prime. The only issue I have with him is that the kibble on the back of his legs has no way of clipping in.
So it's just hanging.
Well, it does slot into place, but there's no. I might have missed some, because the instructions are for modern Transformers instructions, they are kind of a bit on the crappy side.
Good retro feel there, then.
Yeah, but no, he's nice in hand.
Do you know what else is more modular than meets the eye?
Go on.
Oh, go on, Adam.
That is some Age of Sigmar modular rule sets.
You hear that, listeners? That's a professional getting us back on track, that
is. Almost like I know what I'm doing. many years. So yeah, the core rules, the rules for Age of Sigmar are a little bit different, and they interest me greatly. So core rules are moving, fighting, shooting, unit coherency, and objectives. So as you'd expect. Then you have the advanced rules, and this is the modular part. So commands, terrain, magic, army composition, command models, and battle tactics are all modular. What does that mean, you might ask? Well,
what does it mean?
Well, I'll tell you. Don't you worry about that. It means, to start with, if you are just trying to learn the game, you've got the core rules. That's it. That's all you need. That gives you a really simple way to get the rules down and get some games playing. Brilliant, right? And that's the spearhead. All you need is the core rules and your army. That's it. You don't need anything else.
Okay.
However, if you want to play Path to Glory, which is going to be a campaign where you start off as a small band and then work your way up to a big army, you have all the bits drop in as the game progresses. So you don't just start. You start with the core rules, and then you start adding in the various things. Game 1, core rules. Game 2, you add commands. Game 3, you add the terrain. Game 4, you add the magic. Carry on like that, and you build up to the beginning of that. Matched play, you have everything. General's Handbook, you have everything. However, and this is the bit that really interests me, as campaigns happen, you will be able to swap in and out the modular parts of the game depending on the campaign rules. That's brilliant.
I love the idea that you can kind of like leave bits out depending on how complex you want to make the game as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to use everything. You can quite easily say, well, I want a game, not quite spearhead, not quite match play. Do you want to use standard plus magic?
Yeah. Standard plus command and battle tactics. Yeah. There you go. But the idea that as like campaign books come out, they're going to chop and change and swap things in and out. And it's not just, instead of using this rule, use this rule. It's, here is the army composition for this campaign. Here is the rules for magic in this campaign. It's such a smart idea.
Well, sorry, Adam, go on.
I wonder if they're thinking of AOS going forward as not having editions going forward. I just say going forward twice for some reason. Instead of having editions, they're just going to modularize it completely.
So a living rulebook, effectively.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if I can see GW going not for a while yet. I could easily see them at some point moving to a living rulebook format, but I think given how their product line works, I don't see it probably for at least another. I'd be surprised if they moved to a living rule book before the end of the decade. Being brutally honest,
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from, and I do get it, because it seems very much like they're working on expanding where they came from with the General's Handbooks for the last few editions of
Yeah.
giving you season rules that you can just plug in, plug out, and just
The
expanding that to cover
the
elements of
main
the whole
reason I'm
system.
thinking about it this way is because throughout the last edition, the army books have been a little bit piecemeal, maybe the word, maybe rushed. I don't know. Some of them, I mean, don't get me wrong, none of them have felt bad. They haven't at all. But there is this feeling of getting all the army books out before the next edition. But then again,
Yeah,
this third edition of AOS has been a very strange beast because it's always felt like it's trying to catch up with itself.
it has. It had the great misfortune of when it came out. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, and I'm certain that stuff that they've had to rearrange the entirety of AOS 3's story because they haven't been able to get stuff out.
Yeah, but when you look at the stuff they did get out in terms of miniatures and
Yeah.
lore and stuff, it's been hit after hit after hit.
AOS is the best system and the best range of miniatures Games Workshop's putting out. I'm putting my big old flag in the ground on that one. AOS is a better environment, system, setting, and miniatures line than 40k.
Yeah,
Because they just do more. They just go absolutely hell for leather.
Well, there's more room to go nuts.
Yeah.
Although we are starting to see them do that more with 40k now, because
yeah.
I mean, did you ever think we'd have plastic Arbites, naval troops, and inquisitorial henchmen?
No, and I desperately want to do a Imperial Guard naval command army.
You and Darren both, by the sounds of it.
Yeah. But
it's and I mean, look at Underworlds. I've just had the Exiled Dead turn up today because I've been trying to get hold of that to mix into my Curse City options. And Underworlds is just the rules we can take and leave, but the actual miniatures they've put out.
Oh yeah, stunning, absolutely stunning.
Yeah, every Underworlds release has been a hit.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that any Underworlds release has been bad. Some of them are a bit lacking compared to others, but that's because the bar is raised so high on other ones. I think Stormcast ones have a tendency to look a little bit bland compared to some of the other stuff, but then big chunks of metal compared to whatever, pick one, Pirate Ogre and his animal companions, beautiful.
Although I still want to know when the hell GW are going to put out the Sons of Valmorn as a separate release, because I want that set desperately, and I'm not paying 50 quid just for that one unit.
It'll happen at the dawn of 5th Ed AOS.
More than likely.
I mean, there's still stuff that was locked behind like box releases that isn't out yet. When it comes to AOS and 40k, and it should be a year after box set. They should have this stuff out. It's silly.
I mean, I get why the Underworld warbands, they tend to put them on a cycle when they've taken them out of the game. They make them available for AOS for shorter time periods. Although they have now started recycling them back in again with the Rivals pack that brought back the older ones, which I like. I like them doing that, because that's one thing. It was some of the more popular warbands anyway, but also it was nice to have them get a bit of a refresh rules wise.
Yeah.
Which they didn't have to do that, but it's nice to see that they have done it for those who want to keep them current.
All of my all of the Auric Underworld stuff is wrapped into my Iron Jaws army because they're just so good.
Yeah,
they're just great.
I think one of the more interesting roles at GW must be the team, and it will be a team who try and decide like how and I'm going to say, because there's so much of it, so let's just call it existing stock, how existing stock is re-released and repackaged. And I think the more you try and think, well, what do we, we've got our new releases, and then we've got our game releases, and then we've got our core releases, and then we've got our core packs, and then how do we do everything else? And I wonder if it's a case of you can only ever please half the people, because the alternative is putting everything out that everyone would want, and no one can afford it because there's so much out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got this stock issue, which we still know as well. GW, although they have made leaps and bounds, and there's a lot more kind of in terms of their inventory storage, they're still trying to operate with the bare minimum. So they want to release just enough to cover. And if it's short by a little bit, they'll swallow that, even though fans will be a bit miffed. But if they have a lot of stock left over, it damages them. And I think we've even
Very much
seen that
so.
before. And the problem is as well, and it's listen to you guys as well talk about AOS and just talk about its success and how well it's doing. It's amazing that more of that doesn't translate across through other media. Like it's never
agreed.
really quite there. I mean, to be honest, let's face it, at the moment, and no, I'm not referring to anything in particular, but even 40K successes are not translating well through other media. You don't often hear, "Oh, this figure's great," about a new release. It's like there's only one or two people that even bother covering it with that kind of positivity, you know, like Sakirioth and so on and so forth. But in terms of general chat, outside of the hardcore community, that doesn't tend to kind of reach the wider world. And I kind of wish that more of the success of AOS was kind of trumpeted. You know, that they should really show it off what they've got, because people think as well that I think they think AOS's line is a lot smaller than it really is.
Yeah.
That surprises me, but you
But
know.
it's also thought of as still being very new when it's
Yes.
a decade old. You know,
Yeah.
it's a 10-year-old system now. And you think about the difference between Warhammer Fantasy Battle in the first 10 years, and it's yeah, anybody who played Warhammer Fantasy Battle in 1990 was not playing Warhammer Fantasy Battle in 1980.
Yeah.
I know that's
vastly different games.
Yeah, I know that the years there aren't exactly right. I'm just making it a bit easier to say. But, you know, 1983 to 1993, you know, very, very different experiences. And you know, I don't think you got many people going, "Oh, this isn't my Warhammer. It's too, I don't know, cartoony or whatever."
No, you did absolutely, because in researching the thing the other week, I found that even back then you were getting that. This isn't the thing that I first started out with. I don't like it.
Yeah, you did say about that. Yeah.
So you know,
Interesting.
that's the thing. It's like there are so many of those. It's interesting. I know we're going off the tangent, and apologies, but so somebody that I got to know through the TF fandom through a meet, who's a very young fan. We met them at a London meet, and because they didn't know anyone, they sort of came over to us. Oh, can we chat with you? Can we sit down? And they were students from Denmark and the Faroe Islands. And so, you know, we looked after them, kept in touch. And this one person's going to film school. So, because of my history, there's still a lot of chat backwards and forwards. Anyway, the stuff with the new Transformers Prime trailer came out, or Transformers 1, sorry. And
Yes.
and it was interesting to see people from like TF Prime or the Bayverse go, "Oh, that's not my Transformers. That's not my thing." And the thing is as well, you kind of want to you don't want to dismiss them, because you know, you don't want to take the mick out of them, because they have a valid point, because they've associated with that era.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's like I sort of went back and I just typed, just so you know, G1ers didn't really feel comfortable about G2, and they kind of mostly ignored it.
How
G1ers
dare
and
you?
G2 didn't really like Beast Wars. G1ers, G2, and Beast Wars didn't know what the hell Beast Machines was.
How dare you
G1ers,
again?
G2ers, Beast Wars, and the three Beast Machines people were thoroughly confused with what Energon was all about. Then you had, you know, Transformers Go. Then you had Brave. Then you had Animated, which a lot of people hated in the start, and then now obviously it's on a huge pedestal. Then
It
you
was
had
terrible.
Prime. Then you had then you had you know, and it's like it's almost like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
And it's a shame almost that especially with AOS, I think, because it suffered so much from this. Like there's, if there had been almost like an AOS Part 2 and a seismic change, then it would have, I think, done a lot to help the old guard go, well, I didn't like the first round, but maybe I like the second.
It kind of did that in a really roundabout way. So AOS, when it first, I mean, do you remember the original AOS rules? If you have a better mustache than your opponent, you get to re-roll wounds.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I was reading
If I'd known that, I would have started playing it.
A day or two ago. I can't remember where it was. It might have been. Where was it? It wasn't the article I was reading the papers. It was. Anyway, ignore that. Basically, it was getting into how AOS came about and the fact that GW were in a bad place financially. Warhammer hadn't managed to get into the top 5 tabletop games for 2 of the last 5 years and had never broken the top 3. Although it was it had some really nice kits, they just weren't moving, and they were struggling with having if they did a dual release along with something else, they'd cannibalize each other. So an Eldar and a High Elf release would compete with each other. And they brought up the point that the actual rules for AOS, and the suspicion is the miniatures as well, the initial Stormcast and Bloodborne, were actually by GW's terms, on a massively quick turnaround, sort of like less than a year, possibly even less than 6 months.
Bloody hell.
Which is why those initial rules had. And the thing is, that rule you brought up with, if you have a better moustache than your opponent, you get this rule. That was stuff that it's stuff people latched onto, but it was actually quite sparse, really dotted throughout the rules.
What it was the opening salvo rule set.
Yes.
So that was there for the first few weeks whilst they was getting all the ducks in a row because they needed to. By the time, about 3 months in, once those not general handbooks, the Grand Alliance books finally got out, then they kind of gone away and more serious rules had taken place. And then
Well, yeah, the first General's Handbook brought in points gain, so you'd actually build an army with any semblance of sanity, because I think prior to that, people were basing it on wounds.
Correct, yeah.
Even though, for the most part, the official stance was bring what you like, which...
Yeah.
I can't believe anyone at GW approved that, because that's such an insane idea to float.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, bring what you like to the table, and see your opponent's got Nagash and all 3 Mortarks, you just go, shit.
Or 3 Nagashes, yeah. No, totally. And then by the time you get around to Soul Wars, which solidifies AOS in my eyes as a setting and as a system, a lot of what AOS was for that first 2 years goes away very, very quickly and is replaced by something that is distinctly Warhammer.
But I think part of the problem is that although it got to that point, it's still struggled. Even to this day, people still think about those initial 2 years.
Yeah.
Where it was it was something that GW had to do.
It needed to be get you by in order to get the system up and running. Yeah.
And we can speculate for days that they have done something different to AOS, because you suggested, Adam, they might have gone post-apocalyptic in the old world, which equally valid. But they opted for fresh slate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fresh races.
I don't think they made a bad choice with it either.
No.
Yeah, I think
for more I've read into AOS, especially, as you say, the latter editions, because the first couple of years it was
rough.
Yes. But
Realm Gate Wars is a terrible series of books.
Yes. For the love of God, no one please go and read any fiction for AOS from 2014 to 2016 unless you're a sadist.
I don't know, 2016 gave us City of Secrets and
good point.
Pestilence.
All right, 2016 is where the fiction becomes readable.
Yes. It's where it picks up. And people start getting an idea of, right, I can have an entire city on the back of a giant worm that just travels around this realm. Yes. Excellent. Woohoo.
Yeah. It's weird and it's mad, and I wish we had a bit more of that, because someone said that, well, if they hadn't retired all the High Elf stuff, you could have had... there's a lot of the High Elf range that had big revamp before AOS, but actually fits better in AOS.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Wolf chariots and flying chariots pulled by falcons and phoenixes.
Yep.
That's for stuff that I want that in my city's army, frankly, because that could be flipping awesome.
Nothing stopping you.
I know.
Nothing stopping you.
Apart from the fact that you can't actually buy it anymore, but
Nothing stopping you going on eBay.
I've seen people want
Nothing stopping you from hocking a kidney.
I'm waiting for GW, thank you very much. Realistic high elves.
Nothing stopping you to go around a certain person in London's house and crack them on the head and just get a couple of moving vans and take everything out box by box by box by box.
That's not me, by the way, because I don't know that much.
No, it's a very deep cut for something that the Discord talks about on a semi-regular basis. It's just one guy with a lot of stuff.
That's me. I don't live in London. Your geography is terrible.
Yes, but that's not the point.
Yes, yes. We know the person who is off his rocker, frankly.
Yeah, absolutely insane and.
I was going to say it's got to be Big D because of his extremely strong Cockney accent. So I almost was able to say that without laughing.
There's nothing I quite like more than Big D rhyming slang. The problem is it doesn't rhyme. It's apples and pears, hat. Right. Well, I think we're going to draw this to a close.
Yes, and that's probably for the best.
Yeah, we're going to draw this to a banana tops, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.